The file was 41 pages. I had read it 11 times. I was reading it a 12th when the High Archivist of the Solvath Antiquity was brought into the room. They called it a cataloging chamber. That was the word on the station schematic. Cataloging Suite 7. Primary Archive Node. Antiquity Liaison Station, Solvath Prime. The room had pale gray walls and recessed lighting, and a long table of some material that looked like stone and felt like neither. There were storage columns along the back wall, floor to ceiling, filled with data cores the size of my fist. 11,000 years of records, the Antiquity always said. 11,000 years of careful documentation. I kept my eyes on the file. The High Archivist settled across the table. I heard the sound of the escort leaving, the door sealing, the chair adjusted, a long silence. "You are the analyst," the archivist said. The translation was precise. The Antiquity's linguistic interface was very good. It had had 200 years to refine itself against human vocal patterns. The one who found the supplemental archive. I turned a page. The file was called Compact Regularization Protocol 14-Veth, Subindex 7, Settlement Regularization Events, Human Frontier Tier, Current Cycle. It had been filed 31 months ago through the Galactic Compact's administrative relay by the Office of the Solvath Cultural Liaison, under their certification seal. The certification seal meant the filing had been notarized by a neutral party of impeccable standing. The Antiquity had been considered a neutral party of impeccable standing for as long as anyone in the Compact had kept records. Vale's Station had been the first. Settlement Regularization Event, SRE-001, through SRE-43211. The Compact's administrative language described it as a boundary recertification following contested territorial mapping. The Antiquity's cultural liaison officer stationed there, a historian by designation, embedded for cultural documentation, had provided the mapping data used to reclassify Vale's Station as uninhabited. He had been embedded for 19 years. He had attended the harvest festivals. He had documented the school expansions, the medical center, the new water reclamation towers going up in the eastern quarter. He had given all of it to the regularization office 11 days before the clearance drones arrived. 4,211 people, in 14 hours. Filed the next morning as SRE-001 through SRE-4211. 1 line per event. Administrative overhead, 0.3 standard hours per entry, distributed across the Antiquity's data processing tier. I had done the math. The paperwork for 4,211 deaths had taken approximately 21 hours of clerical time. That was the cost, in their accounting. "You found the Orath records," the archivist said. It was not quite a question. I turned another page. The Orath Collective had been the third, before us. The Antiquity had embedded cultural liaison officers across their frontier systems for 60 years before the regularization cycle ran. 60 years of documentation. Their mapping data was meticulous. When the clearance protocol activated, the Compact's administrative record showed 12 Orath settlements reclassified as uninhabited over a span of 4 months. I did not have a total figure for the Orath. Their numbering system did not translate cleanly, and I had not yet finished the conversion. The working figure in my notes was somewhere between 90 and 120,000. They were gone now, the Orath. The Antiquity's archive listed them under extinct civilizations, pre-compact period, cause, territorial contraction, non-viable population base, filed, cataloged, cross-indexed, 11,000 years of careful documentation. "I want you to understand," the archivist said, "that we are prepared to offer the Compact full access to the primary archive. All of it. Cycles 1 through 47. There are civilizations in there, analyst, that the Compact does not know existed. There is navigational data from before your species learned metallurgy. We are prepared to share all of it." I found the page I wanted. SRE 22,847 through SRE 27,091. Callaway's Reach. The cultural liaison officer there had been embedded for 31 years. Her documentation of the colony ran to 900 pages. She had written extensively about the fishing industry, the way the ice shelf broke in early spring, the particular dialect that had developed among the third-generation settlers. Very thorough work. The Compact's academic division had cited her 3 times. 27 days after her last citation, Clearance Protocol 14 VETH activated against Callaway's reach. The drones had a 7-hour approach window. The colony had a single short-range communications relay and no defense installation. The cultural liaison officer had documented the communications relay placement in year 4 of her embedding. It had been in her 3rd field report. I had read that field report. It was well written. The archive, the High Archivist said again, represents 11,000 years of unbroken record. No civilization in the compact can offer that continuity. We are not asking for reciprocity. We are offering it unconditionally. My earpiece clicked. Column 7 reports Installation 7 Prime, Solvath Liaison Station, Kovath Reach, confirmed dismantled. Column 8 is in final approach to Installation 8 Prime. 7 down, 15 to go. The Veil Accord had been assembled over 14 months. Not in secret, in open orbital construction yards above 4 human frontier worlds, on a procurement schedule that was filed with the Compact's administrative registry on the day authorization was granted. 990 warships, organized into 22 columns, 1 column per antiquity liaison station embedded in human space. The Accord was not named after Wrath. It was not named after the dead. It was named after the first station cleared, Varel's Station, where SRE 001 through SRE 44211 had been logged on a morning 31 months ago by a clerk in an office 200 light-years away. The columns had departed in sequence, timed so that each installation would receive word of the previous one's dismantlement before its own column arrived. That had been a deliberate planning decision. I had written the memo recommending it. I had not explained the reasoning in the memo, but the reasoning was this. The Antiquity had embedded cultural liaison officers in human space for 200 years because they understood that information, carefully gathered and precisely deployed, was more useful than force. I wanted them to receive the same clarity, installation by installation, in sequence, with time to understand exactly what was happening and why. Column 9 reports Installation 9 Prime, Solvath Liaison Station, Heron Belt, confirmed dismantled. The High Archivist was quiet for a moment. There will be consequences, the Archivist said, within the Compact. Other members will. The Compact's administrative record, I said, shows that the Solvath Antiquity filed the deaths of 88,400 human citizens as settlement regularization events under Compact Regularization Protocol 14 VETH across a 14-day period. The filing was accepted. The certification seal was applied. The Compact's administrative record also shows that the Antiquity filed analogous regularization events against 4 prior species, with combined casualties that I will not speculate on until the translation work is finished. The Veil Accord's authorization was granted by the Human Compact Council under Article 19 of the Traverse Accord, Disproportionate Response Provision, filed and notarized 9 days after the supplemental archive was recovered. The paperwork is in order. Silence. Column 11 reports Installation 11 Prime, confirmed dismantled. I found the last page of the file. The summary sheet. The Antiquities Administrative Summary of Compact Regularization Protocol 14 VETH, Subindex 7. Current Cycle, Human Frontier Tier. It listed the number of settlement regularization events completed, 88,400. It listed the number of events pending, 0. It listed the status of the regularization cycle, complete. It listed the projected benefit to compact territorial mapping efficiency, 2.3%. It listed a field for follow-on cultural impact assessment, and that field was blank. That field had always been blank. I had checked the Oreth files, the Veth files, the 2 species before them whose names I had not yet fully translated. Every follow-on cultural impact assessment field, blank. The administrative assumption, built into the protocol itself, was that there was no culture remaining to assess. Column 14 reports Installation 14 Prime, confirmed dismantled. The High Archivist looked at the data cores along the wall. 11,000 years. I had no doubt it was all there. I had no doubt it was exactly what they claimed. An unbroken record, continuous and meticulous, the most complete archive of pre-compact civilizations anywhere in the known galaxy. Analyst, the Archivist said, very carefully, we can give you things that cannot be recovered any other way. Some of what is in those cores, the civilizations that produced it, they are gone. We are the only record. If the stations fall. Column 17 reports installation 17 prime. Confirmed dismantled. I closed the file. Then file it, I said. Under extinct civilizations, pre-compact period. Cause, territorial contraction, non-viable population base. I set the folder on the table. The archivist did not speak again. Outside, in the pale orbital daylight above Solvath Prime, the 22nd column was already in final approach. I could see the station's own feed on the secondary display, the Antiquity's external sensors, still running, transmitting to a receiver that was now ours. The column was formatted in a line, not a wedge. There was no dramatic staging. The ships moved at standard dismantlement approach speed, following the same procedure the other 21 columns had followed. And when they reached distance, they would begin, and when they finished, they would file their confirmation, and the Accord's action record would show all 22 installations accounted for, each entry cross-referenced to the specific settlement regularization events tied to the liaison data gathered from that station. 1 entry per event, 1 line per name. That had been my recommendation also. Column 22 reports installation 22 prime, Solvath liaison station, Solvath Prime, dismantlement proceeding. The station shuddered, very slightly. The lights held. The data cores along the wall did not move. The High Archivist's hands were flat on the table. I picked up the file again, opened it to the summary sheet. Read the status field one more time. Complete. I set it down and waited for the final confirmation.